All right, everyone. My name is Pascal Borel, and I'm talking to you from the Lemon's shore, as in Lake Geneva. I'm totally outraged by what I have discovered about the Trump's administration. And it is the first time, I have a few doubts about the genuine intentions of the Trump's administration. And it is centered around digital currencies. And I'm going to just summarize the basic of digital currencies and where is it going today in order to deprive you of any of your property and taking total control over you, over the way you spend money, the way you consume anything in this world. Bitcoin was created to exchange, to make transactions and allow you to pay your coffee, to pay your groceries at the supermarket, to pay for your computers, to pay for your traveling and what have you. And as soon as 2013, 2014, Bitcoin was accepted by companies like Microsoft to pay for your computers, your software, was accepted by major corporations such as Expedia, hotels and traveling. It was accepted by Overstock, one of the most important discount retailer on earth. It was accepted by Subway and so forth. And suddenly, in 2017, it was made a complete obsolete product by ensuring that transactions would actually cost $50 per transaction. Furthermore, it was the date of execution was, delayed by 3 to 10 days sometimes, making it an absolutely impossible currency to use on the day-to-day. And this was orchestrated by a group of people, and this is where Epstein comes into the scene. It is actually Epstein was, of course, involved in all the sexual atrocities that the Epstein file release has put in the light. But clearly, it is not all. He was also involved in making sure that the cryptocurrencies could evolve in a way to favor the people that would take control of them. And I'm not going to run you through all the people that were involved, but you should know that Epstein was able to fund no less than the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute for Technology, Harvard University, the best university in the world. And they created 3 different projects. I got the names, but I'll do probably another video more technical for those who are truly interested, making sure that they could recruit the digital currencies to make it the way, but this time controlled by central banks and the politics, to exchange goods and services. And they had 3 pilots, Hamilton, Cedar, and a liability network, which were able to do up to 2.6 million transactions per second, i.e. better than any of the transaction systems throughout the world today. And they created this technology so that at the press of enter on a keyboard, they can switch from the current dollar to a digital dollar called stablecoin, USD stablecoin in this case, backed by US Treasury. And they've been implementing different acts, executive orders, to make sure that by law, the cryptocurrencies would have to obey the rules of politicians and of a few who now took control of the whole thing. It's obscene, it's outrageous, but this is how the Jeffrey Epstein funding, and if I may, clearly he did not have the money by himself. He was funded by our probably Israeli friends, by a whole range of banks such as Rothschild, JP Morgan, the Rockefeller, and in order to capture literally the value of money and to make them totally unavoidable in each and every of your transactions. Again, different foundations have been involved, the Bitcoin foundations, and then other companies, which went bankrupt, by the way. But what they did is making the Bitcoin totally unusable for the people, for the citizens. In short, once the Bitcoin model was tested, approved, and proven to a large extent, they took control over it and they applied different means in order to capture the whole thing. Let me tell you, as an example, Donald J. Trump, about a year ago, transferred like half of his assets in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. You will never see a professional investor, and you can assimilate Donald J. Trump to a professional investor given the advisor he's got around him, putting half of his assets into one position, into cryptocurrency, without having amazing inside information. And in this regard, people like Nancy Pelosi or any of the other insiders in the United States are dwarfed, literally, are puppets versus what Donald Trump is kind of organizing, maybe despite himself. But namely, he transferred $1.1 or $1.2 billion in his son's name, Baron. And you never ever do that if you're not certain that your investment thesis is actually up and running in the market, and yet that you're going to profit from it in a fantastic way. And this is where Mr. Howard Lutnick is intervening, as in the Secretary of Commerce, who, by the way, Howard Lutnick was one of the main fundraisers for Hillary Clinton, i.e. the Democrats, and all of a sudden he's part of the Trump's administration, i.e. the Republicans. And why is that? Because he masters the whole thing in an amazing way. He funded Tether, which is another stable coin, the Tether company and the Tether currency, if you wish, and he financed it up to $600 million. Where was this money coming from? Probably not his private money. No, it was directly coming from again, our Israeli friends who funded Epstein, who funded, in order to create terrible cases about all politicians in order to basically keep them under control. And then he financed the MIT and the various companies that were in charge of making sure this technology could be used by central banks, which are completely, and read my book 2024, completely unconstitutional. And they've put in place everything that is necessary in order to, again, capture the first intention of cryptocurrencies. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself is, how is Donald J. Trump truly involved in this? What is his purpose? Well, long story short, the Americans, they have about $40 trillion, $39 trillion in debt. They're never going to be able to reimburse that debt, let's face it. So they want to basically trade the current dollar into a stable coin dollar, the US stable coin. And they will probably go to all the people that have bought US debts over the years and give them a deal. Either you accept to diminish, the value of your debt, and you will be partially reimbursed, or you will lose it all. And the people will have to accept, they will actually anticipate on the way the US stablecoin, backed by the US Treasury no less, will actually raise in value. Because if you look at all stable coins today, it probably represents, in the last 12 months as of today, about $33 trillion, i.e., close to the total US debt worldwide. And it is anticipated that stablecoin will represent in excess of $120 trillion of transaction by 2030. So it is interesting to see G.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, but more like G.D. Vance in an interview the other day, who said that they were going to be able to diminish the US debt by $3 to $4 trillion. But in fact, what they're anticipating is not to diminish the US debt. No, they will create more to justify the miserable administration there is, or the excess of laws, the non-respect of the US constitutions by the politicians and the legal framework today. May seem crazy, but they will probably create even more debt because it's an easy source of financing. So that is what's happening at the moment. It is crazy. And by the way, by end of May, the Trump administration will have control over the Fed, the federal bank, as in the federal bank of the US, because its president is changing. And that is synonymous of a complete control over what's going to happen over the currency. I would wish to go in more detail, but I want to keep this video very short. I will probably do another one where I explain every step that has led to what I'm describing here. And but what you gotta absolutely remember, okay, is that your government, our government, is just because, let's face it, there are about 134 countries which are at different stages of transitioning to cryptocurrencies. And that in itself represents 98% of global GDP worldwide, i.e., they will all follow. Because once a government has put in place such an element of control over the citizens, over the people, all the others will have to follow. And if you think about it, digital ID that's just been accepted in Switzerland, or no later than 2 days ago, the Swiss were voting for abolishing all the notes and coins and revert to a complete digital currency. Thankfully, it hasn't been accepted, but I assure you one thing, this decision will be presented to the people again in 2, 3, or 4 years at the most, because it is indispensable to our politicians to control what you're consuming, because once that is in place, they control not only what you're consuming, but as an example, if you've been using your car a bit too much to their liking, they'll be able to cancel your capacity to buy petrol. They'll be able to allow you to buy groceries and your day-to-day food, but they'll forbid you to buy what is not within their agenda. It seems crazy, but this is exactly where we stand today. And I'm pretty certain that Mrs. Christine Lagarde, who's the finance minister of Europe, in inverted comma, is ready with the system, and she just has to press enter literally on her keyboard in order to roll out the entire scheme, the entire scam. And again, long story short, it's everything that I've written in my book 2024. And you should definitely purchase it, and most importantly, read it. Because not only it contains I would say, the result of all of this, but it provides you with a solution, with a tool that you can use in order to reconquer your sovereignty, your freedom, through very simple solutions, which are the only one that will lay the foundation on which your sovereignty is guaranteed, on which your freedom is guaranteed, your capacity to educate your kids, to consume the way you want, and so forth, is guaranteed. Everything is written in my book 2014. It's a tool, actually it's more than a tool, it's a roadmap that drives you everything that is necessary to put in place and revert to a constitution that guarantees your freedom, that protects you from the financial interests of a very few who have the power today. Now, what else should I be telling you? All of this is an acceleration of global technocracy. And this technocracy is the plague of our democracy, is a cancer that you need to eliminate if you like freedom. So, I beg you, literally, buy the book 2024 and read it. Read the source of financing of the politics. It is a given chapter. Please read about the constitutions and the different articles which have a universal purpose. They apply to the US, they apply to the UK, they apply to India, Africa, China, Switzerland, France, any given country today, because they all have constitutions. They all promise the same thing to their citizens, and they do not respect their promises. That is a fact. So read the roadmap in 5 points that will lead you to the guaranteed success that you are owned by your governments. Is there anything else that I should be telling you? I think that's about it. But I will be back with more details on the agenda and how has it been put in place. May I thank you for your kind and benevolent attention. May peace be with you and all citizens of the planet. Peace out.